Parker on it. Long. Go! Chris Mueller. The Money Badger delivers. Reynolds in a dangerous spot. And here comes the run from the far side. And it's Hollingshead.
Looking for the cross. This one falls. Rondo!
My plan's winning a cup and then riding off into the sunset.
Welcome to MLS Weekend Preview presented by AT&T 5G. Only 2 weekends remain in the regular season, and we look at which teams will take the final playoff spots. Well, in LA, GBS relieved of his duties by the Galaxy. Was it the right time? And where did the Galaxy go from here? Also, the Philadelphia Union are only 1 win away from clinching the Supporters' Shield. We're going to talk with JP Dellacamera about the Union. But first, Calen and I are going to get you set up for the weekend.
That's right, Susannah. We're kicking things off with the Univision match with the Texas Derby. The Dynamo desperate. Winless in their last 5 games, sitting 3 points out of the playoffs. Dallas on the other side, looking to secure a home playoff game. They're 3 points back right now.
All right, Nashville against Chicago. Nashville became the 5th expansion team to clinch the playoffs in their first season. They're unbeaten in 4. Chicago, though, winless in 3, but tied for 10th in the East with 3 games remaining.
ABC, Philadelphia, get used to it. They are fighting for titles, for trophies right now. 3 points ahead in the race for the Supporters' Shield. Columbus is 8-1-0 at home this year. Columbus 2 points up in the top 4, looking to lock in that home playoff match.
How about another edition of the Hudson River Derby? Maxi Morales returned for NYCFC. They've won 2 straight. They're only 2 points back of a home playoff game. The Red Bulls, though, they have scored a goal after the 80th minute in their last 3 games.
Exciting. This one, these teams need goals, Susannah.
Oy.
It's been tough. Atlanta hasn't scored more than 1 goal since October 3rd, and Cincy has 2 goals in their last 8 games.
Ooh, that ain't good. How about Montreal against Orlando? Montreal only 2 points up on that final playoff spot. The Impact have not kept a clean sheet since September 3rd. Daryl DK, though, a goal and assist against Atlanta. Is he the AT&T Young Player of the Year? Perhaps.
I don't know. I like that. They switched the title of that one, though, so you got to stay on
exactly.
your toes here. DC, New England. Don't look now. DC might get into the playoffs.
Let's go.
A couple points back in New England.
Wow.
They've clinched, but looking to get a top seed.
Wow, 2 other teams that have clinched, Sporting Kansas City and Minnesota. Sporting looking to hold on to that top seed in the West. Only 1 loss in their last 7 matches, Calen. Not bad.
That's not bad at all. TFC have also not been bad. Still up in that race for the Supporters' Shield. And Inter Miami, I mean, what a year it would be if they could find their way somehow into the playoffs after everything. That would be huge for them.
This is interesting. Colorado against Seattle. Colorado, as it is right now, and because of the points per game rule that was just instituted, they are currently set to make the playoffs, even though they haven't played in a very long time. They're taking on Seattle. It's going to be interesting.
Here we go. Portland against Vancouver, little Cascadia, and both teams playing at home, sort of. And how about this strike here from Andy Polo? I mean, that had to be one of the best goals of the year.
All right, the Galaxy versus RSL, as we said, Guillermo Barros Schelotto out as Galaxy head coach. RSL sitting just outside of the playoffs on points per game. Can they do it?
Carlos.
Hello.
We've seen him return, but this is one to watch a little bit, Susannah. There was a couple positive tests in the LAFC camp, so we'll have to stay on top of things with that. And then Wando. You know, he's been scoring goals. Can he ride off into the sunset? San Jose back in the playoffs.
Oh my
man.
goodness.
That'd
Okay,
be
so
incredible.
here is how it looks in the West right now. As we mentioned, playoff positioning now going to be established by points per game. That was announced yesterday. So because of that, we saw Minnesota clinch. They're going to the playoffs. Colorado, even though they haven't played in what feels like forever, as it is right now, 1.27 points per game, they're in. Will it hold? Is it fair? I don't know. These are questions that I have.
You are a mathematician, and I'm going to need your services at this point in time because it's gotten complicated. But if you look over on the East, the last 2 spots are still up for grabs. Montreal sitting right in that position. That's who I've really got my eye on, Thierry Henry. It was so cool to see a little bit of how he manages in that video during a match. But look, every time I go on Sky Sports News, they ask me about him. Will he get into the playoffs? Will he not? For one, I want to see TT in the playoffs. Let's go.
Heck yes.
a project that started 2 years ago with Guillermo, with a lot of things that can be seen as positives last year. We haven't been able to capitalize this year. If the results are not good, and then the results haven't been good or even close to being good, that's obviously overworked. I don't think that we should be in last place, but I also realize that we are in last place, so there is a responsibility to that, and we have to go forward in a way that obviously is not acceptable.
Oh boy. All right, everybody. Welcome on into the MLS Weekend Preview presented by AT&T 5G. Susannah Collins alongside Calen Carr to kick-start your weekend. And as we just saw, the big news yesterday, Guillermo Barros Schelotto relieved of his duties as head coach of the Galaxy. They are in last place, Calen. They have lost 8 of their last 9 matches. And after that 5-2 loss to Portland, it just seemed to be the final straw. We saw Guillermo Barros Schelotto after the game, very brief remarks. You kind of knew that the writing was on the wall for him in LA, but Calen, were you surprised at all on the timing of this?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I think it could have been done a bit earlier if you look at the way that this team has been going the wrong direction for quite some time now, where Dom Kinnear really doesn't have too much of an opportunity to really try and save things, for at least for this season's sake. But look, you can't question the hiring to begin with. Schelotto coming from a club like Boca Juniors, winning back-to-back titles there. But it hasn't lived up to expectations. It has not been good. And the roster actually hasn't been that bad. They have some good pieces. He just hasn't been able to really mold the team in a way that gets the best out of them. I mean, most notably would be Chicharito, who's been also a unquestionably good signing, but hasn't worked out in the way that people expected it to. And even when you look at Pavone, putting him in positions to succeed, it just hasn't gotten the best out of him as well. So when you look at this Galaxy team, yes, I think this was the right move. The timing, a little bit interesting because you say, oh, do you wait till the end of the year? But I think right now it was just the writing was on the wall for a while now. And now they have to answer a big question of where do they go next?
Yeah, it's kind of head-scratching and puzzling to be. Number one, I do question the timing because you look at what happened with Orlando, right? And how they got rid of DeBoer, but that was early. It was like they knew that this was an issue. Atlanta, sorry. They knew that this was a problem, and they got rid of him. And now you have a little bit more time to kind of rebuild, to go out and find your guy. So I was a little bit surprised. I thought perhaps they would let him finish out the season and then look for a new coach. You knew that inevitably it was going to happen. So I think that, to your point, I think they could have made this decision a little bit sooner, maybe bought themselves some time. But as it is, it just didn't work. And you said it so well. I'm puzzled by it because when they signed him as a coach, it seemed like a slam dunk. It seemed like the right move. This is a guy that has been super successful in Argentina. He has MLS experience. He's won an MLS Cup. He has the big splashy name. I thought, yes, this is a perfect LA Galaxy signing as a head coach. And then the roster, they have good players. They have good players on this team. And you look at it, and on paper you say there's no reason that this team shouldn't be successful. But I think ultimately it comes down to chemistry. And for whatever reason, he was not able to get everybody on the same page as him. There's been rumblings about kind of his coaching style, how that didn't resonate within the Galaxy locker room. And again, it's just one of those, I think we all thought it was going to work, and it just didn't. So it was the right decision to move on from this. But where do they go from here, Calen? When you're looking at a team with the pedigree of the LA Galaxy, right? One of the most successful clubs in MLS history. It's been a rough go for the last few seasons. So who do you look to take over? What kind of coach are you looking for?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. When you look at other examples as well, DeBoer also widely celebrated, successful to some degree, probably not to the same degree, but I think we've seen, Patrick Vieira come in and have great success, Tata Martino come in and have great success, but it hasn't been that way necessarily with all foreign managers big name signings that I think has sort of become the in vogue pick for these bigger clubs in Major League Soccer. And it makes me think a little bit more of like, how important is MLS experience when you're and MLS success as a head coach in MLS? And now when I look into sort of the people who are maybe assistant coaches right now that I think could get a shot would be Gonzalo Pineda with Seattle Sounders. Ezra Hendrickson is also a really interesting name to me. Played for the Galaxy, won a title there. Now with Columbus, has also been involved in the Sounders teams there. And then I even wonder if just some of these big open positions now, these are big clubs like the Galaxy, and they have to get this next signing right. And I wonder if you are a big club like this and you realize, hey, maybe it didn't work going out and getting a foreign manager, even if he's come and played here, but you want MLS success. Do you try and make a big splash? Do you try and go out and lure a successful coach that's proven it in MLS? And the two names that stick out to me are one, Greg Vanney, who played for the Galaxy, and Brian Schmetzer at Seattle. And I know people are going to say those guys would never leave; they would never do it. But if you're the Galaxy, and you understand you need to make a big move right now, and you have to get this next hire right, do you at least shoot your shot? I don't know, Susannah.
Oh my! I'll tell you what. Toronto fans and Seattle fans right now are looking at you, just shaking their head like, "What are you?"
I'm not saying they would be
talking
interested.
about.
I'm not saying they would be interested. I'm just saying.
I understand your point, though. I think that there is something to be said about getting a coach who understands MLS, knows how to coach in this league. One of the names I think is interesting that's been thrown around a lot on social media is Jurgen Klinsmann, who, he lives in LA. His son plays for the team. He's got that big name recognition.
Susannah, no.
I know. I'm not saying it's the right move, but I'm saying it is one that is catching some traction, at least on Twitter. And it seems like it could be the type of signing that they would do, but not necessarily the right move. It's just it's interesting. So, okay, this is an interesting tweet from Landon Donovan. He sent this out yesterday.
Also another potential manager.
Well, after this too, read this. Galaxy fans, I share your pain and disappointment over these past several years. It's been difficult and painful to watch for all of us. Please keep your faith and continue to support the best club in MLS history. I'm confident it can be turned around soon. Now, whether or not that means that Landon Donovan is sort of throwing his hat into the proverbial ring here, I don't know. But as I said before, this is a club that is used to being successful. So how do they get back to those ways, Calen? How do they get their mojo and sort of swagger back?
Yeah, well, it will be a challenge. And when I look back at what's gone wrong for them over the years, I mean, really since Bruce Arena left, they brought in Anolfo and decided to go with basically a youth movement coming up from their 2 team to take over the first team. And then that project wasn't getting results right away, and they kind of shuttered that, then went back to Siggy, who came in and tried to give them some of that kind of old school touch to their history. That didn't work. They moved on from him, and then you go to Schelotto, but they papered over the cracks, I think, by bringing in Zlatan. He was able to, in some ways, just keep them, with the addition of LAFC, even just competitive and to make things exciting and have a big name that we're so used to seeing. But that's really what I think has been the big problem for the Galaxy, is they've constantly had to remake themselves. Every year, there seems like a different plan in a different direction that they're going. And that's why I think this next signing is so important as a manager, to say, this is where we're moving forward in the next 2-3 years. And I think they thought that Schelotto was that guy, and it proved not to go that direction. So
yeah, I think too, this doesn't necessarily this is not all doom and gloom for Galaxy fans right now. And for the biggest reason is that in MLS, you can get back on track really, really quickly. It's different than other leagues, where in MLB or NBA, a rebuild can take years. You can put in like 3 to 5 years to get a team to where it needs to be. And in MLS, you can see that turnaround happen far more quickly. than ever before. I look right now, I look at a team like Orlando, right? They brought in Oscar Pareja, and look what happens. You know, suddenly this is a team that is at the top of the Eastern Conference standings, poised to go on a deep playoff run. So it can happen very quickly, but I think you're absolutely right. They need to get this next signing right. It's imperative.
A corner. It's the header by Leandro Gonzalez-Pires.
Plays it back for Rivas. Chance for DC, and they've won it.
And it's Cavallini, and the Whitecaps take the lead.
Now in Quintero scores beautifully.
Driving forward, slams it in, and Boyan from long distance.
All right, Calen, only 5 playoff spots remain right now. 2 in the East, 3 in the West. So we're going to play a little game of trick or treat because it's the Halloween season after all. And we are going to go through some of the contenders here and decide whether or not they are a trick, meaning they're out of the playoffs, or a treat, meaning that they're in. And again, you guys, it was announced yesterday that MLS will use points per game to determine the regular season standings because there are certain teams that haven't played all their games. Looking at you, Colorado. So this is how it's going to go. We're going to start, Calen, with Montreal. They are currently in 9th place on 1.1 points per game. For me, they're a treat. They're in. They're in. I say they're in. They've got Orlando and DC up next. I think that they are very likely to get a result in at least one of those games and just kind of solidify their place they're in. Montreal's in. Thierry Henry, baby. Let's go.
Well, I have some questions about them, specifically if they can keep a clean sheet in the back. They haven't been able to do that in September, and that Orlando game makes me nervous. But 2 points up already. I'm saying the same thing. They're a treat.
Treat. All right. How about DC? Now, this is a team that we had kind of written them off a few weeks ago, but then whoa. 3 straight wins for them. They're kind of making this last season push, which I love. But for me, Calen, they're a trick. I think it's too little, too late. They're on the outside looking in.
It's incredible that they're even in the conversation after the start that they had. So credit to them. But I think probably just too tall a task to make up that ground. Let's look over to Inter Miami.
Ooh.
I mean, how amazing would it be if they were able to get in? They are still holding on to that final playoff spot. Tied on 21 points for 10th. Higuain just 1 goal, though.
Yeah.
What do you think? I'm going to go trick. I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm with you. They're a trick for me. They will be out. That game against Toronto, I think it's going to be really, really difficult for them to get a result there. And I just, again, kind of like DC, I just think it's going to be too little, too late. The Chicago Fire, though, Calen, okay? We both have the Chicago ties. Right now, they've got 3 games left, and against Nashville, Minnesota, NYC, FC, okay? These are all teams that have already clinched. So in my mind, I'm thinking this is 3 games that they have an opportunity to get some points, and I think they're going to take advantage. I think that perhaps maybe some of those teams that have already clinched might be resting some guys. There's an opening there. I think Chicago can take advantage.
This has been a tricky team to figure out this year, but I agree. With 3 matches, the extra match, let's go for it. I'm going for a treat.
Going for the treat. All right, Chicago, in. You're in, baby. All right, let's move it on over to
they got
the
some more
Western Conference. Yeah, I mean.
Okay, all right, I hear you.
Goes without saying. Okay, Western Conference. Now, we are going to assume right now that Dallas is going to make it based on their points per game. They have a significant advantage over the other teams. So let's start with San Jose. San Jose! You heard Wando at the top of the show. He wants to ride off into the sunset, and I think that they are a treat. Calen, they are in. They're currently in 7th place. They've got games against Seattle and LAFC. The LAFC game, obviously, we're not quite sure because of the COVID situation, but I think they are in a good position. For me, they're in.
Yeah, I'm going with a trick because this team has just been so up and down all season for me, and in years past, I'm not really sure how they fare. And if they get in, I think they could actually make a deep run. But I just too unreliable for me, so I'm going with a trick.
Okay, what about Vancouver? What about Vancouver? This is interesting. What are your thoughts on Vancouver here?
I'm going to say they are a treat. And look, I think in moments they have been really good throughout the year. They haven't drawn a game all year, so that's kind of an interesting fact. But I think Cavallini, some strength going forward. I think they find a way to get in.
Okay, I have them out. And it's just a gut feeling. No disrespect to Vancouver. I just have them out. Sorry. Okay. RSL! How about RSL? They've got the Galaxy and SKC up next. They're currently in 10th place. RSL are out for me. They're a trick.
Yeah, I think the game against Sporting is tough, and then I actually think this game against the Galaxy is going to be trickier than you think. We get the new coach bounce. So, I'm got RSL as a trick right now.
Oh, man. They hate us right now in Salt Lake. Okay, let's move it along to your Houston Dynamo. Calen Carr. I'll let you lead this one. I know.
Don't do this to me.
I know. It's awkward.
I love Houston. These are my people, Susannah. Don't make me do this. But it's been, I think they haven't won in 3 matches now and haven't been great on the road. They're going up to FC Dallas. I hate to do this, but I'm going.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to, they're a trick for me as well. I'm sorry. I really, really didn't want to do that to you.
I hope I'm wrong. I really hope
they're out. Okay, this is where it gets real interesting. Colorado, okay? Because Colorado currently are in right now in 1.27 points per game. They haven't played in forever, and so a lot of people might say that, well, this isn't fair. How can we give them a place in the playoffs when they haven't played all their games? But just because of the rules, the way they are, Calen, I think Colorado's in. They're a treat.
Yeah, well, they've got a tough match with Seattle, but and I believe they've lost their 2 matches since they've come back to play. But I think with 3 matches to go, I'm going to give them just with same reasons for Chicago, the extra match. I think that helps points per game. I think Colorado gets in.
We shall see, buddy.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Come on, Suze. You know a lot.
Easy ball in. Yes! Goal! What a goal! What a goal!
All 11 guys, are selfless, are playing for each other, are playing for the badge.
I don't know how he kept it out. I really don't know how he kept it out.
It would be amazing to raise the first ever trophy.
Open man, go! Welcome back, Corey Burke.
Well, a big game coming up on Sunday. Columbus against Philadelphia. That game at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. And in that vein, we are so excited now for AT&T 5G Call to the Field. We are bringing in one of the iconic voices in soccer, broadcaster for the Philadelphia Union and Fox Sports, JP Dellacamera. JP, always so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to see you, Susannah and Calen, too.
Okay, so JP, if we had told you at the start of the season that the Union would be on the verge of winning the Supporters' Shield with a game to go, what would you have said?
I would have said, Susannah, love your optimism, but I'm not so sure that that's going to be the case. I actually thought that before the season started that NYCFC and Atlanta would be the top 2 teams based on what they did a year ago and based on off-season moves that they made and where I thought that those 2 franchises were going. I would not have done so well with Atlanta, but you didn't know that Martinez was going to go out and that P.T. Martinez would be a bust this year and Barca wouldn't do anything, right? So I think that I had good information at the start, but I also thought that once you got past those 2, that Philadelphia was next. So while I didn't think at that time that I could make a bold prediction and say, yes, they'll win the Supporters' Shield, I knew they would be a contender for the top 3 spots, but I still had NYCFC and Atlanta ahead of them.
JP, when you get mentioned and start fighting for silverware, there's going to be inevitable conversations around awards and the award season coming up. And when you look at the Union's build over the years, more points successively, and now potentially going after trophies, do you think Jim Curtin is the coach of the year, and does he get the respect that he deserves?
I think he's starting to get the respect that he deserves because I hear people like yourselves mentioning him more and more. National people also say the same. So at one point, maybe 2 years ago, he was definitely an unsung coach. I think now he's among the better ones, and I think that's one of the reasons why the team has done so well. I think he is the coach of the year, especially if they win the Supporters' Shield. I thought a couple of weeks ago when Toronto was in first place that if they had won, and if they still do win the Supporters' Shield, that Greg Vanney had to go through a lot more than Jim did. I'm being very candid about that. I mean, they don't have a home field. They're not even in a home country, and the injuries that Vanney has had to deal with, all of that. So I think that Vanney would be his strongest contender for that award, with no disrespect to others like Oscar Pereira's had a fantastic year in getting Orlando to the playoffs for the first time. So I think that there's a lot of great candidates. But right now, if I was filling out a ballot, Jim Curtin is Coach of the Year.
All right, let's move over to MVP then, because a lot of the conversation has been around, do the Union have an MVP candidate? Do they not? And I guess for the success that they've had, is there an MVP candidate on the Union, and is that important?
I like the way you phrase that, because they're more of a team than individual stars. But when people ask me who I would pick, I've said clearly that Andre Blake is their most valuable player. There is no one that's a close second to me. I think Blake has had an amazing year, his best ever, even better than he was goalkeeper of the year. Goals against average is about half of what it was a year ago. And even in games where the Union have comfortably won, he's had to been called upon to make some big saves. So Blake is number one. I may surprise you with who I think is their second choice for MVP. I think it's Jose Martinez, because I think they play differently when he's playing in the game. He's Diego Chara, but several years younger. And when he doesn't play, for whatever reason, they don't seem to have a like-for-like swap there. So I think that Martinez, to me, is their unsung hero, but he would also be the guy that I would write in second for an MVP, because I think he's been arguably their most consistent player. I mean, the numbers say Shabilko, great year, Aronson, great year, and Mark McKenzie's done so well too. But Martinez gives them a different dimension. He's someone that they've not been able to replace when he's been away for injury, suspension, or in the last game, the COVID test.
JP, the Union are perfect at Subaru Park in 2020. What do you think has made them so successful at home, and how important is it for them to win the Supporters Shield so they can secure home field advantage throughout the playoffs?
Home field advantage is interesting this year, and you guys can appreciate this because there's no crowd, right? I mean, Philly are letting people in now. It's a limited capacity. It's a couple thousand probably, but they're noisy when they're there now. It sounds like there's a lot more people there. But I think in this day and age, home field advantage is totally different. I think it's still very, very important when you compare it to a road game. I think Philly's done well on the road. They've got a winning record on the road. So even if they don't have home field advantage throughout, I don't think it affects them. But here's the difference for home and away this year. When you go away, you're chartering. You're going the day of. Usually it's in the morning. It's X amount of hours of a flight. You're in a hotel for a few hours. You play the game and then you come home. Your routine is totally different than in the past where you'd be prepping for it. I think when you're at home, even though there's no crowd, you're in your own locker room. You know that field better than anyone. You're sleeping in your own bed. You know, you're with your family. It's a much more normal routine. So even though the fans are not there, there's still a home field advantage for sure. And I think the Canadian teams would probably agree even more because their situation is in total turmoil.
Yeah, it's been wild for them. What a strange season 2020 has been.
Yeah.
You talked about the importance of Andre Blake to this Philadelphia Union team. And unfortunately, in their last game against the Fire, we saw him leave the game with what looked like a pretty nasty hand injury. JP, assuming that he is going to miss some time, how does this affect the Union's chances at going on a deep playoff run if they're without him?
Well, I think in the case of, let's take it the next game or the next two games, right? Then you have a break for the international calendar, and then you've got playoffs. So assuming that Andre is just going to miss a little bit of time here, I think that they can adjust. Their back line has been so consistent this year, you know, whether it's Gaddis on the right and Wagner on the left, and then you've got McKenzie and Glesnes, or sometimes Jack Elliott. I mean, that back line has been very strong. They're still giving up a decent amount of chances to the opponent, and I think that's still going to happen, but maybe they tighten things up a little bit more without Andre in goal. I think Joe Bendik has played in, I want to say off the top of my head, it's like 177 games. So it's not like you're throwing in a rookie in there, and they've also got Matt Freese, who's played in the USL this year. So I think that, you know, for a couple of games or thereabouts, that they would make whatever adjustments that they have to make and do the best they can without him. But if he were going to miss any time in the playoffs, I would say it's a significant loss.
Great stuff from JP. All right, guys, early voting has begun in many states across the U.S. and New York. It started here on Monday, and Major League Soccer and the BPC and the MLSPA have launched MLS Unites to Vote, a league-wide nonpartisan initiative to help players, staff, and fans get out the message of the importance of voting. Check out MLSsoccer.com/vote to learn more about how the league is looking to educate our community on the voting process, drive voter registration, and more. Time is running out. We're still possible. Make sure you're registered.
There was a podcast about this.
Oh, my, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Guys, if you haven't checked out the latest episode of the Movement podcast, please do. Calen did an incredible job. He went down to Philadelphia and looked into them getting voter registration increases and talked to Ray Gaddis and Mark McKenzie. It's really, really outstanding.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
You, Susannah.
Great
Thank you.
stuff.
You're the best. You're the best.
You're the best. All right, you know what else is the best? As part of Major League Soccer's 25th season celebration, MLS Today announced the 25 greatest presented by AT&T. It's a campaign. Over the next few weeks, a group of over 200 MLS experts will vote from a list of over 130 candidates to comprise the 25 greatest players in MLS history. And the final list of those 25 players will be presented on December 9th, just 3 days before MLS Cup. So these will not be a rankings per se, but just more of a compilation of the 25 greatest players that have ever played.
Not a rankings.
MLS.
What do you mean not a rankings?
Carr, if you are not at least on the list of 130, then I quit.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Well, yeah, I don't know how deep they're going, but thank you. Yes, I'm going for I know nobody's asking, but D-Row. He was on the graphic, and D-Row's my favorite MLS player of all time. So my greatest regret was never asking to exchange a jersey, but.
Oh man!
I don't know. I see D-Row around every once in a while. Maybe.
He is. He is definitely around. I'm going more recent in a name that I really hope is on that list, and this is a very polarizing one. But Zlatan. I cannot. I don't think you can argue the impact he had on such a very short period of time. I mean, he turned this league just upside down, came in with such a bang. You and I were there at his debut in that incredible match in the El Tráfico game. It was just incredible. And from start to finish, from his time when it started in MLS to when it finished, I mean, the guy was just soundbite after soundbite, and he delivered. So I want to see the Lion on that list.
Top 25, I don't know. We'll see.
Come on. All right, Calen. It's about that time. MLS Predict 6 presented by BetMGM, a weekly free-to-play game from Major League Soccer. Correctly predict the final outcomes of the 6 featured MLS matches, along with secondary predictions such as which player or team will score first or how many total goals will be scored. And you could win $50,000. New this week, Calen, if no one correctly gets all 12 selections right, the top weekly score now wins $2,500. Not bad. Wow. Head on over to MLSpredict6.com. and play for free. Oh, Calen, I was out last week, but apparently you went 0 for 2. So
really? You know what happened? You know what happened the week before? You know what happened the week before? I got it right, and you know who wasn't here? You. Okay, so I'm starting to figure this out, and I'm saying, well, what's the common denominator in my failure and then my success? And I need Jillian Sakovits back. I think she has been my guru, my good luck charm. She brings the positive vibes.
I know.
Sometimes you gotta lift people up, not push them down.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Okay.
My apologies.
I'm ready to try again.
What's your pick this week? What do
you
got?
This week I'm going with Toronto FC, fighting for the Supporter Shield over Inter Miami. I just think experience at this time of the year tends to weigh out. I know Miami will be desperate for a result. If they find a way forward, they're going to need it from Higuain or Morgan. But I just think the experience of Toronto, they get through and get the win. Who you got?
I like it. Okay, so for my pick this week, I'm looking at the Hudson River Derby, baby. NYCFC taking on the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls are unbeaten in 5 games, and I am going with them in this one. I just got a hunch. They just clinched the playoffs for the 11th straight year, which is pretty remarkable. And as we talked about at the beginning of the show, they have had some late game heroics as of late. And so I just think ultimately that trend might continue against NYCFC at Red Bull Arena. Let's go. Red Bulls.
Okay.
What about secondary pick, Calen?
Well, secondary picks is usually where I begin to shine. That's where I usually just start being like, what minute are they going to score in this? You just got to feel it. But this week I'm going for halftime score between Dallas and Houston, and I'm going with my Dynamo up 1-0 at the half. And I don't know if that is going to hold. I'm a little nervous about that in the second half, as I mentioned before. But I tell you what, the Dynamo, we got to come out fighting in that first half, get up 1-0, maybe Memo. Who knows? If I get that right, that'd be great. But we'll see. Who you got?
I like that because you kind of, you had to give Houston a little bone in this show at some point. So that was nice. I appreciate it. All right, so for my secondary pick, I'm looking at the SKC Minnesota game, and I'm going to go with total goals in that one. And I just couldn't really decide, so I went with 3 because that just seems to. I feel like there's a lot of 2-1 games recently. Yeah. So I'm saying 3 goals simply because of the odds. It's a very common scoreline. So I'm going with 3 goals.
Going with your gut.
I am. That's how I operate.
I like that.
That's how we operate. All right. We've got a full schedule for you guys this weekend. On Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Oh, hello. The Texas Derby, baby. Dallas taking on Houston. That game on Univision and 2DNA and Twitter. And then on Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we've got that big one, Columbus against Philly on ABC. ABC! This is big time.
That's right. We'll move over to Sunday. And we've got Portland taking on Vancouver. That will be in Portland, of course, where both teams have been stationed for a while now. And then we're going to close things out with the Galaxy, with my old manager, Dom Kinnear, taking on Real Salt Lake, who will be desperate to get into the playoffs.
It is crunch time indeed. Also, just a big shout. As you can see, Calen and I are both wearing our MLS Vote t-shirts. This is probably one of my favorite t-shirts that MLS has given us. It's so important. Guys, if you haven't voted, get out and do it. Let your voices be heard. That's the message I want to leave you all with this weekend. Also, happy Halloween. Right?
Yeah.
It is Halloween.
Have you picked your costume yet? Or are you going to dress up at home?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't think so. Probably not this year, but it's going to give me a lot of time to decide my costume for next year when everything is back to normal, right? Sure. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Guys.
I like it.
I like it. Let's end on a positive. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy all the soccer. Happy Halloween. Go vote. We'll see you soon.